Hey everyone! Welcome to another episode of The Radium Girls. We're your hosts. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Valerie.
And today we're going to be discussing Missing 411, which is a series of books that document cases of people who have gone missing in national parks. These cases are often maintained as being unusual and mysterious.
So the dude who wrote Missing 411 name is David Politis?
Politis.
And he was a former police officer who is now an investigator. And he was doing research in a national park, and an off-duty park ranger found him and expressed concerns about the questionable nature of some of the missing person cases which occurred in the parks. And so that's how this all came to be.
Interesting. Let's dive right in.
Okay. So this case has been called the Yuba City 5 case. And it's the American Dyatlov Pass incident. If you remember us covering that one not too long ago, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. That case was really... Yeah, I loved like that. I don't love that case, but yeah.
It's so mysterious.
Yeah, very mysterious, and so many different theories that it could have been. So I'm really excited for today's story.
So Dyatlov Pass refers to the unsolved deaths of 9 hikers in the northern Ural Mountains in the Soviet Union. The Russian case is as mysterious as the Yuba City 5 case. So it's going to have a lot of similarities.
I'm excited.
Get ready for the ride.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Keep all hands inside the cart.
At all times.
Yeah. I think I said that wrong, but whatever. Okay. Joe Shones was having a heart attack.
Oh, let's start out strong here.
The 55-year-old Californian had felt fine just a few minutes previously, navigating his Volkswagen on a desolate mountain road near Rogers Cow Camp in the Plumas National Forest to see if the weather conditions were good enough to bring his family along for the weekend excursion the following day. But as he drove further into the night, snowdrifts slowed his tires. When he got out to push his car, the exertion brought on a searing pain in his chest. It was February 24th, 1978, and Shones was miles from help. As he sat in the car, wondering what to do, he noticed 2 sets of headlights, one belonging to a pickup truck. Hoping he could flag down the passerby, he exited his vehicle and began screaming for help. He would later say he saw a group of men, 1 woman, and a baby. They continued walking, ignoring him. That's rude, by the way. Mm-hmm. Hours later, back inside his car, he saw what he thought were flashlights. When he went back outside to yell into the darkness, no one responded to the sound of his voice. People be rude.
So these people were actually walking, not driving?
Was he in like a camp area?
It says they continued walking, ignoring him.
It says desolate mountain road, so I would guess no one would be there, but he was near the camp, so maybe.
So I guess maybe it says he noticed 2 sets of headlights. Maybe that second set of headlights, or maybe it wasn't headlights at all. Maybe it was 2 flashlights.
Yeah. Or something.
Oh no, because it said one belonging to a pickup truck. So I guess
he's near camp.
2 sets of headlights, not 2 headlights. Like 2 sets, so he saw 4 lights.
So
one could have been a truck, and the other 2 could have been 2 people or 2 flashlights belonging to,
like you said, headlights. But I mean, they could have been. No, they look different though.
Because then it said that later on he saw the people and they kept walking. So from a distance, those flashlights could look like headlights. And then later on he saw them, they were closer.
Not the same one.
It could have, that's what I'm saying, it could have been. It said that he saw 2 sets of headlights, right? One belonged to a pickup truck.
Yeah.
So one he knew was a truck that passed by. The other one, it didn't say if he knew it was a truck that passed by, but he said later that he saw a group of men, a woman, and a baby that continued walking, ignoring him. Mm-hmm. So that second set of headlights he saw was probably them way off in the distance walking towards him with flashlights. And the way they were standing, it looked like headlights. So then later it said that he saw, when he was back in his car, he saw what he thought was flashlights.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that second set of headlights was actually flashlights, and now they're closer, so he saw the flash. He actually noticed that they were actual flashlights. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't know what the facts are.
Well, that seems logical to me. Well, hours into his ordeal, and with his car still stuck and now out of gas, Shones felt well enough to begin walking down the mountain and toward a lodge roughly 8 miles away. He passed a 1969 Mercury Montego, but the vehicle had no occupants. At the time, Shones was preoccupied with his own emergency, but authorities would later realize the biggest story to emerge from that dark, desolate road wasn't his brush with death. It was the fact that Shones had likely wound up being the last person to see Ted Weir, Gary Mathias, Jack Madruga, Jack Hewitt, and Bill Sterling alive. Whoa.
Dramatic. Alive.
Do you like how I said Matthias? Matthias? Isn't that how that would be?
I don't know.
Gary Mathias.
Don't ask me.
That sounds right. We're just going to roll with that.
Yeah.
2 hours before midnight, when the basketball game ended at the California State University at Chico, 5 young men from the flatlands 50 miles to the south climbed into a turquoise and white 1969 Mercury Montego and drove out of the parking lot. They were fans of the visiting team, which had won. They stopped 3 blocks away at Bears Market, mildly annoying the clerk who was trying to close, and bought some snacks. All 5 piled back into the Mercury and took off. But instead of driving south towards their homes, roughly 50 miles away, they drove east. When Shones spotted their abandoned Mercury, the car had been driven roughly 70 miles away from the Chico basketball game. Ooh. What were they doing?
None of them were known to have any business on that part of the mountain. All 5 had intellectual disabilities or psychiatric issues to various degrees.
Oh, no.
All of them lived with family, who kept a close eye on them. They were often lovingly referred to as boys. Despite being from 24 to 32 years of age, an impromptu road trip was definitely out of character. At 32, Ted was the oldest, a former janitor who was closest to the youngest of the group, 24-year-old Hewitt. Sterling and Madruga, an Army veteran, were another set of best friends. Gary had been in the Army too, but was discharged because of psychiatric problems. He was schizophrenic, a condition controlled by medication he hadn't bothered to bring along.
Oh, no.
There was no reason to believe he wouldn't be home in time for his next dose. They were supposed to play a basketball game of their own on February 25th, part of a tournament, with a free week in Los Angeles if they won. Their clothes had been laid out the evening of the 24th before they left for Chico. Each had a beige t-shirt, the words Gateway Gators emblazoned across the chest. From the Yuba City Vocational Rehabilitation Center for the Handicapped, where they all played basketball. Ted had asked his mother to wash his new white high-top sneakers for the tournament. He had scuffed them while trying them out. Gary had just about driven his mother crazy with the game. "We got a big game Saturday," Gary kept saying. "Don't you let me oversleep."
Aw, we're excited.
I know.
In the early morning hours of February 25th, Shones made it to the lodge and was able to get medical treatment.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That is crazy.
Heart attack?
Mm-hmm. There was no reason to mention having seen the Mercury until newspapers began to blare out notices about the 5 men who had gone missing that Friday. When Ted and Sterling didn't come home, their mothers began calling the parents of the others, and soon the police were involved. On Tuesday, February 28th, authorities found the Mercury on the same mountain road where Shones had last seen it, and where a park ranger had reported its location after hearing the missing persons bulletin. The junk food had been consumed except for 1/2 of a candy bar. 4 maps, including one of California, lay neatly folded in the glove compartment. The keys were gone, but when the police hot-wired the car, the engine started immediately. It had enough gas to continue on, but a snowbank had likely caused its tires to spin out. Madruga and the 4 other able-bodied men should have been able to dislodge it without a lot of difficulty. Instead, it looked abandoned. Around them, police saw nothing but rugged, dense forest, hardly an appealing option for the lightly dressed young men. Organizing a search party in the midst of winter was no easy task, especially when it meant combing through rough terrain filled with rocky surfaces, wooded paths, and snow-covered slopes. Helicopters surveyed the area from above. On the ground, officers tried to use horses to get around on the rocky roads. They entertained a number of eyewitnesses' sightings of the men, including one where they were driving the pickup Shones had mentioned, but none seemed plausible. Their families raised a $2,600 reward for information, hired psychics, and waited by their phones, but heard nothing. Forest rangers searched the area for 5 days and found no trace of the men, but soon after the search began, a severe blizzard moved into the area, covering any potential tracks. Around 9 inches of snow dropped on the upper mountain. The search teams nearly lost men themselves 2 days later. As their snowcats struggled through the drifts, nobody found anything. Dyatlov Pass.
Mm-hmm. In June of that year, a small group of weekend motorcyclists came across an abandoned Forest Service trailer on a campground site. Curious, they went inside. They found a body tucked into a bed, draped in 8 sheets from head to toe. They called 911. When authorities lifted the veil, they found Ted, shoes missing and his feet badly frostbitten. The trailer was over 19 miles from the Mercury. A table by the bed held his nickel ring with Ted engraved on it, a gold necklace, and his wallet with cash inside. Ted had been a tall, heavy-set man back in February, 5 feet 11, 200 pounds. By the time his body was found, he had lost from 80 to 100 pounds.
Wow.
Whew. Damn.
Yeah.
That tall being that skinny.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
That's how tall I am.
You're 5'11"?
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
I'm not going to say how much I weigh, but I mean, picture
That's
me.
tiny. For your height,
Yeah.
that's tiny.
Very.
Bones. The growth of beard on his face showed that he had lived apparently in starving agony inside that trailer from anywhere from 8 to 13 weeks.
Damn.
That's insane. The trailer had been broken into through a window. No fire had been built, although matches were lying around, and there were paperback novels and wood furniture that would have easily burned. More than a dozen sea ration cans from an outside storage shed had been opened and emptied. One had been opened with an Army P-38 can opener, which only Madruga and Gary, who had served in the Army, probably knew how to use, but no one had opened a locker in the same shed containing enough dehydrated Mexican dinners and fruit cocktails and assorted other meals to keep all 5 alive for a year.
Wow.
No one had touched the propane tank in another shed outside either. All they had to do was turn that gas on, said Yuba County Lieutenant Lance Ayers, and they'd have had gas to the trailer and heat.
What the heck?
I don't know.
Classic Dyatlov Pass. This is crazy. Soon, police found 2 other corpses, those of Sterling and Madruga, 4.5 miles away from Ted's remains. Police believe their bodies had simply given up before they found shelter, while Ted and others marched on. Madruga had held onto the keys to the car and had been partially eaten by animals and dragged about 10 feet to a stream. He lay face up, his right hand curled around his watch. Sterling was in a wooded area, scattered over about 50 feet. There was nothing left of him but bones. Damn. That's so sad.
Yeah.
2 days later, just off of the same road, but much closer to the trailer, Jack Hewitt's father found his son's backbone. Oh my God. Damn. Lieutenant Ayers had tried to talk him out of joining the search, fearing something like that might happen, but Hewitt, whose first name is also Jack, had insisted on going. There were a few other bones around, along with Jack Levi's and Ripple-soled shoes. An assistant sheriff from Plumas County found a skull the next day, about 100 yards downhill from the rest of the bones. The family dentist identified the teeth as those of Jack Hewitt. Oh, that's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Hewitt's remains had lain northeast of the trailer, like Sterling's and Madruga's. Northwest of the trailer, about a quarter of a mile away, searchers found 3 Wolf Forest Service blankets and a 2-cell flashlight lying by the side of the road. The flashlight was slightly rusted and had been turned off. It was impossible to tell just how long it had been there. They found no sign of Gary Matthias. Although the men's bodies were heavily decomposed, autopsy results determined that they likely had died from exposure. Wow, it's so sad.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Bizarre, says John Thompson, the special agent from the California Department of Justice who had joined Ayers on the investigation. And no explanations and 1,000 leads. Every day, you've got 1,000 leads. They learned that a Forest Service snowcat ran up the road to the trailer on February 23rd, leaving a packed path in the snow that the boys might have followed.
Ah.
If police and the families of the men were expecting closure from the discovery of their bodies, they weren't about to get it. What puzzled them the most was how Ted was found emaciated, despite the fact that the trailer had been stocked with plenty of canned and dried food and a can opener. From his beard growth, they knew Ted had been living there anywhere between 8 and 13 weeks, yet only about 12 cans have been opened. So he was still eating, I guess. I don't know, that's weird. And he had not bothered to turn on the propane tank, which would have provided heat for the entire trailer. Several paperback books, perfect for fires, were also left untouched. No one had even bothered to cover the broken window they had smashed to get inside. So they was letting in all that cold air. No heat. Could have turned on the propane tank. And these dudes were like in the military, you know, at one point.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Gary was.
And another one, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like they would have known how to survive.
Yeah, it's already really bizarre, but they did have psychiatric and intellectual disabilities. So, like the ones that, because I don't think Ted was in the military. Gary was.
Mm-hmm.
So it's likely that he opened the cans.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one that was schizophrenic with no medication.
Yeah.
And it's very possible that he was having some sort of an episode and like convinced these other people that, you know, maybe he knew the way to go or something, like get back and have propane, you have a match, like what?
Could have had heat covered up that window.
If they would have opened one of those other containers, they would have seen they had a lot more food.
Yeah. Some Mexican dinners.
That's so crazy.
Fruit cocktail.
Man.
For a year. Not for a year. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. There was also the theory that Gary convinced the group to head towards Forbestown, an area between Chico and the mountain road, so he could visit a friend who lived there. It was possible that Madruga had missed the turnoff and gotten lost, driving deeper into darkness until the snow ground the Mercury to a halt. The men, panicking, may have believed their car was stuck and that they needed to get help. A year after their disappearance, police were no closer to solving the mystery. Gary's body has never turned up. What? What if he killed them? Because he's the one that's schizophrenic.
It's a theory.
What if he held Ted hostage there and like made him watch him eat, and then because if his body was that bad decomposed, maybe you can't see like where the wrist was tied up or something like that. My mind's got to go to the darkest places here.
And who covered him up with 8 blankets?
Right. Were they getting frozen and that was their way of trying to warm them up? But if their heads were covered up, I mean,
I think
the
whole body.
Your head, that's where your heat exits your head, and that's why it's so important to wear a beanie and also keep your torso warm, is because your heat rises out of your head and your body, like your core. You want to keep your core warm to protect your heart, and then your heat comes up. So if you wear a beanie, it helps trap the heat to keep you cool. Hot.
What are you bringing this up for?
Like if they're covering their heads to stay warm.
Oh.
I don't know. Well, there was never any accounting for their strange decision to turn towards unfamiliar territory. Ted seemingly walked nearly 20 miles to the trailer in frigid conditions, despite having left his coat at home. Damn. None of the men thought to walk downhill from where they came and instead faced the treacherous and unfamiliar path ahead.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Ted's sister-in-law has theorized that the men may have seen something take place at the basketball game that prompted someone to chase them. Interesting. Police were never able to establish evidence for pursuit, but no one could shake the idea that the men seemed to be determined to move forward. Why do that unless something more frightening was right behind them?
I don't know. It's so crazy. I just feel like you would still go home. If they were only 50 miles away, that's not that far.
No, that's not that far at all. It doesn't make sense, really.
Why would you go like the other way? I don't know. Maybe someone was following them from the candy store or gas station, wherever they were.
The candy store.
The candy store.
I mean, that's a theory that somebody was following them. Maybe they did see something at the basketball game. Or if Gary had a friend. I think they said Gary had a friend.
Yeah.
Gary convinced them that he had a friend or whatever somewhere close by. That could be the case, and that they got disoriented because maybe the snow was falling and they couldn't see where they were going. And
yeah, maybe like they started going towards home and maybe they had to take a detour. Maybe the road was covered or something.
I don't know. It said they were going the wrong way, though. Like,
but maybe that's why they had a detour until they went the wrong way. And they didn't know how to go around because they didn't have GPS. They had maps. And they weren't using the maps, I don't think.
They could have had the maps upside down.
But it said it was in the glove compartment. I mean, I guess you could have put it up.
Yeah, they could have put it up. But I don't know. Maybe they were, like, either that possibility or going back to Gary convincing them to go to his friend's house. What if Gary's like, you know, we're on the right track. You know, the car's stuck. His house is just right down the road up here. I know it is. Let's just walk there. Let's walk to my friend's house. I know it's right down here.
Yeah, but even then they said it wasn't like really stuck. They could have got it out.
The 5 men could have pushed it out. Yeah. But they are intellectually challenged.
But I mean, I feel like they're smart enough to, like, they're driving, they're playing basketball, they're doing stuff on their own. I feel like you would know.
Maybe they did try and the snow was too slick. Maybe it was they couldn't get a grip on their feet.
I don't know.
It's weird.
It is
weird,
so
man.
Weird. At least 2 of the 5 men were higher functioning. Although they were all enrolled in a day program for mentally handicapped adults, Gary wasn't mentally handicapped, but instead had schizophrenia. And he was apparently quite high functioning when he was on his meds. Madruga was considered slow but hadn't been diagnosed as mentally disabled. Both Gary and Madruga had served in the army and had driver's license. There was some force that made him go up there. Jack Madruga's mother, Mabel, says firmly, they wouldn't have fled off in the wood like a bunch of quail. We know good and well that somebody made them do it. We can't visualize someone getting the upper hand on those 5 men, but we know it must have been.
Dang.
I can't understand why Gary would have been that scared, says Klops. Even a fire, he says. All those paperbacks and they didn't even build a lousy fire. I can't understand why they didn't do that unless they were afraid. Ooh, skinwalkers.
Ooh.
Why abandon a perfectly operable car to strike out into the forest at midnight? Why press on through 20 miles of snowdrifts and darkness to break into a locked, unheated trailer and die? Why drive all the way up there in the first place? And how? If someone chased them, why was the car undamaged?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fuck, that was it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, why?
So many questions left unanswered.
So many whys.
That's so crazy.
Why?
I want to say, like, my biggest theory is that, like, I'm kind of set on Gary convincing them to go to his friend's house because it's late and
they had a basketball game the next day they were excited about.
I know, but like, I mean, I don't know. Were they drinking? Were they on drugs? Were they doing something like that? We don't know because, there's no reports about they said autopsy and that they died of exposure of the elements, but
like bones.
Yeah, they could test for drugs and stuff like that, I think, but I would think that some of that wouldn't be conclusive.
Yeah.
So my theory is that he convinced them to go to his friend's house or that they just got lost, one of the two, and maybe somebody was like, it's I remember seeing this place way back there. Let's head over to that place. We can find safety and shelter there, whatever the case may be. And the whole thing about number one, not ever finding Gary's body, that's suspicious to me.
Was he the most high functioning, they said?
Yeah, he was the one that was he wasn't mentally handicapped. He just had schizophrenia. And when he was on his meds, he was high functioning.
Yeah.
So if he's not on his meds and all that's wrong with him is just that he has schizophrenia, I think he murdered him.
I don't know.
I don't know if he married. I don't know if he murdered Ted, but because, maybe he did.
That's a lot to go through. I don't know, because I don't know.
That's a lot.
Because,
this was a lot.
He was living in that trailer, that dude.
Ted, yeah.
Yeah. So, did he get away and, live in there?
See...
I don't know. I don't think it was him. I think he's dead somewhere.
You think Gary's dead somewhere?
Yeah, maybe an animal took him, probably. The other ones got eaten.
But their bones and stuff are still there?
Yeah, but the one dude was spread apart. Maybe something bigger took him, a bear or something.
I don't know. Maybe I still have my suspicions that it's Gary and he's living off and he's a mountain man. No. He's some sort of mountain. He's got schizophrenia. The voices in his head probably told him to do some shit.
Maybe. Wait, who was driving?
I don't remember.
There's too many boys to keep up with.
That was a lot, yeah.
Yeah, up to the names. I think you read it, didn't you? Yeah. So I think it was Ted, right? Yeah, it was Ted's car.
That's what I was thinking.
So Ted was the one in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
He had a beard and everything. So, why didn't you keep eating Ted? That's so weird. To come back.
What if... Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. What if Ted got hurt somehow and Gary was, tending to him? He was opening... Because it said that Gary... Or it was Gary and Madruga, I think, or... the ones that would have known how to use that can opener. So what if Ted got hurt and they made it up to maybe an animal attacked them and that's why all these other guys were spread out and, maybe Ted got attacked by the animal, but Gary was able to defend them and get it off or whatever. So he makes it back to the trailer and he's immobilized. He can't move. He can't do anything. So Gary's over here taking care of him, giving him some food. Maybe they're just so out of it they don't even realize that there's propane and stuff like that. So maybe they scarf down a bunch of food and Gary goes back out into the elements where he gets lost and dies somewhere and Ted freezes to death freezes and starves to death just laying there on the bed because he can't get up and Gary's gone. Nobody's coming to rescue him, so he just lays there and dies.
There was something you brought up, but I was like, no. Can you repeat the whole story? God, what'd you say?
Talking about in an animal attack and then Ted got hurt.
Oh yeah, he didn't have any wounds, or they didn't say anything about animal wounds.
Well, but he was also 80. He lost 80 to 100 pounds, and and he was pretty decomposed by then. They said that all the bodies were pretty decomposed.
Yeah,
so
but he was inside.
He had frostbite on his legs.
Yeah,
Didn't he have frostbite on his legs?
His feet.
His feet. So there you go. Like maybe he was already starting to get frostbite. I believe frostbite can set in really quickly.
Yeah, but he still had that beard growth, so he had been alive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He like starved to death because he couldn't get up.
Oh man, I would have been army crawling.
Right, yeah.
Like, you know how to do that.
But that's what I'm thinking. Like maybe Gary fed him for a couple days, was like spoon feeding him, and then was like, we just can't keep doing this. I'll go find some help or something. Or Gary killed him and he killed all the other guys and he bolted.
I mean, he could have went. I think there was a part I missed putting in here. He didn't have his shoes. I think someone might have took his shoes.
It said something about they found his shoes. I thought. Maybe not.
Yeah, his shoes are missing. And I think someone else had his shoes. I thought that's what it meant. It might not be true, so I don't know. But, I mean, yeah, that's why his feet are frostbitten. And, like, his body was tucked into the bed. From head to toe.
That's what it was. I'm telling you that he, like...
Because someone had
Gary
to cover him.
was taking care of him.
And tucked in?
Yeah, I think that's what was happening. He was trying to help him stay warm.
Someone, at least. It might not have been him, but maybe he went to go get help.
I think it was Gary.
You think he killed him?
I don't know. I mean,
don't think he killed him.
I'm kind of 50-50 with him killing him, or at least him leaving him there to die.
I think he left him there to go get help.
Right.
And never came back.
Yeah. But he's schizophrenic. You got to keep that in mind, because...
But that's why he never came back. He was just, like, seeing shit or something.
Huh?
Shit, he probably saw skinwalkers, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy.
It is so crazy. Like,
I'd have been like, who was it? Gary got left, never got found.
Gary's the one that was never found.
I've been like, Gary, can you at least cover the window?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's just crazy.
It's crazy. What do you guys think? Do y'all have any theories?
Yeah, because this one just could throw all the theories around.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks.
I need to know what happened to Gary Matthias. Let me Google that.
Yeah, I think he just died out there in the elements, and they just never found his body.
Yeah.
Because when you do listen to like these 411 stories, people get far fast, and you're like, how? Like, how did this person travel like 40 miles in an hour, you know?
Yeah.
Like, freaking, what the hell?
That's crazy. Yeah.
And going through shit. Like, you didn't go in a straight line. You're going through shit.
Yes.
That's insane. So he was probably out there somewhere in the mountain. At least his bones.
Yeah. Well, I doubt we'll ever find it now, but.
I mean, in the 70s, I guess they didn't have like a lot of camera footage stuff. You know, like store, like passing by stores and stuff like that. Like you can see like
surveillance.
Yeah, surveillance. Because I would like to see that.
Yeah,
it's freaking crazy, man.
See, the internet's divided whether it was an outside force, Matthias, or some sort of accident.
Yeah, since he's missing, it's questionable, but I think he's dead out there somewhere. And if he did, no, I don't think he killed him. I don't think he killed him.
I don't know.
He starved out there, that dude.
I'm torn. Well, on that note, today's question involves us taking a quiz. Valerie?
So our question is, are you a right brain or a left brain person? And we'll leave the link below.
Yeah.
And so you guys can take it too.
I feel like I'm going to be a left brain person.
Isn't that the more like creative, artistic side?
I think so.
I think it is too.
We've got well, I don't know if we need to put this in there, but I was gonna say we've got 2 quizzes that we're gonna take. Maybe we'll link both of them, but we're gonna see which one is the better quiz and let you guys take it with us and let you know. We'll be right back with our results.
Yeah, right brain.
Ooh, I'm a little more right brain. Where'd it go? I'm 69%.
You would be 69%. That's all? It don't say anything?
No, just, I mean, it's got the little words out to the side.
Chaos, creativity, fantasy, intuition, curiosity, images. A person who is right-brained is said to be more intuitive, thoughtful, and subjective.
Your left hemisphere controls the right side of your body and deals with logical thought and language. Your right hemisphere controls the left side of the body and it handles abstract thought and spatial orientation.
Am I good at laying out step-by-step plans?
I like you can be.
I like other people to do a step-by-step plan.
It tells you information about both brains.
Oh.
And it gives you your percent.
What your percent?
Between what am I? 67 and 33. So right on.
I go say 69. I was like, bitch.
I know. I was like, damn. Oops. 59.
Why? I'm almost like 50-50.
Yeah.
I gotta have logic.
Interesting. It didn't really say like a lot about it. So like specifically just that you're intuitive, creative, imaginative, idealistic, random, appreciates, believes, recognizes faces, expresses emotions like music, art, and sees the big picture.
I don't know why they think I like math. I like science.
You like that?
Analytical.
Yeah.
That's why I like science. Reason.
You're practical.
Practical. That's I do like realistic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Don't text. Yeah.
So yeah, we're both right-brained, it seems, which, you know, that makes sense. We're both creative and intuitive and all that stuff. So yeah, we'll link those tests. We took 2 of them. Well, really, we took 3, but that first one I don't think was very
about
good.
like
So.
school.
Yeah. So we'll put the 2, both those tests in the link in the description down below. Take the test and let us know which brain you are, right or left brain, or are you kind of 50-50?
So that last one, I got
Just a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's story. Quite a doozy, a very, very good mystery one. We like these kinds of stories, so let us know what you thought in the comments below on our Facebook page, comment, etc., what we say every time. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening and, tuning in and all the good stuff. So we will see you guys next time. As always, stay curious.